Do you understand what you are reading? Revelation chapter 4 verses 1 through 5. These visions begin with a door standing open in heaven, leading to a vision of God on his throne receiving ceaseless worship, and of the Lamb, who receives from him a mysterious sealed scroll. Revelation chapter 4 verses 1 through 8. John receives a heavenly vision of God on his throne and of the slain Lamb, whose triumph qualifies him to open a scroll and execute God's future purposes for history. As the Lamb opens the scroll's seals, John sees images of God's instruments of judgment and of the saints who will receive salvation. Revelation chapter 4 verses 1 through 22. Things that shall take place after this: Christ's defense of his church and destruction of its enemies. Having identified the strengths and weaknesses of the 7 Asian churches, which represent all the churches, Jesus speaks again. He summons John, in the Spirit, to heaven, to receive visions that portray the future working out of his victory on the cross. The ultimate victory will come in the new heaven and earth at the end of history. Revelation chapter 4 verses 1 and 2. The first voice like a trumpet. In heaven, John sees a throne, with one seated on it, adored by his heavenly attendants as our Lord and God. Revelation chapter 4 verse 3. John describes God's glory in bright colors: jasper, carnelian, rainbow, emerald. The jewels mentioned in Revelation are not meant to be interpreted individually but together represent God's splendor and majesty. John does not precisely describe the Almighty's visible features. Perhaps he had no words to describe what he saw. Revelation chapter 4 verse 4. On 24 thrones sat 24 elders. Their number may reflect the orders of priests serving in the Old Testament temple. More likely they symbolize the unity of God's people. This includes Old Testament Israel, led by the heads of the 12 tribes, and the New Testament Church, led by the 12 apostles. Their thrones look like the ones in God's heavenly court in Daniel chapter 7 verses 9 and 10. Some interpreters believe that these elders are angels, and that therefore they do not include themselves among the redeemed in chapter 5 verses 8 through 10. Revelation chapter 4 verse 5. Lightning, rumblings, and thunder display the terrifying splendor of God's glory, as at Mount Sinai. Revelation chapter 4 verses 6 through 8. The peaceful sea of glass often appears in prophetic visions of God's throne room. It is the floor of heaven and the ceiling of the created universe. 4 living creatures have the features of cherubim, full of eyes, lion, ox, man, eagle, and seraphim, 6 wings. Holy, holy, holy. Previous prophets also saw these creatures. Revelation chapter 4 verses 9 through 11. God's receiving of power does not suggest that an omnipotent being can become stronger. Rather, the strength of his creatures is used to honor him,